all this integrity and that, he was always about fighting the best. Now, to his credit, I will partially give him credit for stepping up to the plate, even at a disadvantage to fight Tank, even though, he listened to Al Heyman henchman and lawyer Lupe Valencia and went against the best wishes of his own promoters, Golden Boy, to fight Tank. He in that one instance he did fight, he did fight Tank, so I guess he deserves some credit, even though he was a fool in the way he went about it, because he didn't really give himself a chance to win. But look, all right, Ryan Garcia went on Twitter today. And he gets the tweet in a way. He says, look, and I quote, "This just proves that the new blueprint is to get popular and be a decent fighter. You pick fights to win that gives you an advantage and continue to rack in money. The integrity of the sport is getting ruined every day. If you're an up-and-coming fighter, I would focus strictly on just building your name." So how ironic, how rich is it that the guy who is, who really, like, Ryan Garcia has compromised the integrity of boxing about as much as anybody. This is the same guy that when he was a prospect, announced that he had a Manny Pacquiao exhibition and lied about it. This is the same guy that, really helped legitimize. Ryan Garcia helped legitimize Jake Paul, because he's part of that whole, like, streamer circle, like Jake Paul and Neon and Jack Daugherty and all those guys. He helped legitimize Jake Paul. He was the guy that, was doing the body shot challenge with Jake Paul. You guys remember all them years ago, Ryan Garcia would post Instagram videos where he had Jake Paul with a body shield, and he's hitting Jake Paul as hard as he can with the left hook with a body shield. So if there's anybody who's got blood on their hands to help legitimize these guys, to help this sport and the competitive integrity of this sport get ruined, it is him. This is the same guy who had a Gatorade endorsement deal before he fought for a world title. This is the same guy who, all he's cared about for the majority of his career, with the exception of a few moments, is being a star. And it's sad. It's really sad, Ryan Garcia, because anybody who's ever heard me talk about Ryan Garcia, you guys know how highly I think of him as far as his talent. He's got God-given gifts that you just can't teach. I've been on record, and I've said it many times. I'll say it here again on this live. If you never heard me say it, Ryan Garcia is one of the most naturally talented fighters I've ever been around in the boxing gym. And I've seen them all in the gym. I've seen Shakur in the gym. I've seen Devin in the gym. I've seen Tio. I've seen Boots. I've seen Tank. I've seen a lot of the best fighters in the world, a lot of the big names. And I can confidently say that in terms of natural ability and gifts, Ryan Garcia has about as many as anybody. But, that's only a part of the equation. He never took this sport seriously. He hasn't really given the best parts of himself to this sport. And, I know it's difficult because, there was a lot of women throwing ass at him when he was a young man. So I get it. There was a lot of things to overcome as a young man, but that's where discipline comes into play. That's where you separate the men from the boys. If you're a man, you're disciplined, and you can overcome a pretty smile and a fat ass. You can overcome those things if you're really a man and you have that integrity and you have that discipline. But again, I know it's a lot easier said than done. But he hasn't really been a serious fighter for the majority of his career. So how is he going to get here and talk about, the integrity of the sport is getting ruined every day? We ain't forget, Ryan. Like you get mad at Tank for fighting Jake Paul last year. This is a tweet from last year, from May of 2024, just last May. He said, "I want to fight Jake Paul for fun." He said, "I want to fight Jake Paul for fun." Last May, he said that, right? He also said, again, last March, he said, "Okay, enough. It's on. I'm going to have to do this, and I'm going to have to end this Jake Paul boxing thing. Bring it on, Jake. I'm dead fucking serious. Hit up my team." This is the same Ryan Garcia that's saying that, but then he want to get over here and he want to talk sideways like he cares about the integrity of the sport. You're getting paid. Listen, you just fought Rolly on one of these turkey cards, and one of the worst cards of all time. You just fought Rolly, and you made like what, 10? Who knows? I've heard numbers thrown out there. I've heard you made 10 million. I've heard you made 20 million. You made a lot of money. You made a lot of money to fight Rolly on a turkey card. All right. And you never won a world title. You never really put in that pain at the top level to command $20 million. You got those $20 million because you were a social media influencer. Credit to you. You were smart. You saw how the world was moving. You get credit for that. You marketed yourself. You got people to care about you and give a fuck about your fights to tune in to command that kind of money. But if we're talking about the competitive integrity of boxing, which is the basis of this tweet right here, that was from earlier today, you didn't fight the top guys. You fought Devin Haney in April of last year. Well, Devin Haney, there was a point in time where you and Devin Haney could have fought when you were prospects. When Devin Haney was when he was the franchise champion, right? Or he had a version of the WBC title. Tia was a franchise champion. Devin had like the WBC regular, whatever the hell it was. And you beat Luke Campbell. That was the eliminator fight. That was an eliminator fight. Did you fight Devin Haney in 2020 or 2021? No. You had your own issues you were dealing with outside the ring, and you weren't living the life of a fighter. So if there's one fighter that cannot criticize Gervonta Davis about the competitive integrity of boxing, it is Ryan Garcia. And I'm gonna leave it at that when it comes to him. I'm done with him. Now I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna move on some more. It's True School After Dark, right? We're not pulling the punches today. I'm tired. I'm tired of these channels. I'm tired of everybody in boxing. I'm tired of most of the media. When I do tune in to listen to you guys talk about these fighters, you don't keep it real, because I don't like to. I sit back and I listen to a lot of these channels. I don't comment on their videos, but I listen to these channels. So I know what's being said around the YouTube boxing community, and I sit here week after week after week, and a lot of you guys fail to really keep it real about anything, and it's fucking annoying. It really is. I'm tired of this shit. Tired of you guys dick riding certain fighters. I'm tired of it. Tired of you guys now all of a sudden now everyone want to keep it real. Everyone wants to be a green light artist and keep it real. No. But anyway, I mentioned earlier about Gervonta Davis and how he's supposed to be the elder statesman of a lot of these younger guys, setting the example. And this is the example that he's setting. So look, this is an interaction today from earlier today between Jaleel Hackett, 147 pounder, once highly touted prospect. And then Scooter Davis, who now is a highly touted prospect, who is from the DMV area. He's from that same area. So Jaleel Hackett tweets, and I quote, 100 M's for an exhibition. A win is a win. And then Scooter Davis is saying, this is all I'm saying. People don't understand where we come from. So he's basically saying, Scooter Davis is telling Jaleel Hackett pretty much that the world at large doesn't understand that fighters come from the trenches, that fighters come from the ghetto, that fighters come from the sticks. And that's bullshit, because a lot of us who cover this sport, a lot of us who participate in the sport, we don't come from, wealth. We don't come from the upper crust, affluent parts of society. Well, a lot of us come from the sticks. A lot of us come from the trenches. We just don't glorify it because we're not trying to stay in the trenches. We're not trying to stay in poverty. We're trying to rise above poverty. We're trying to get to a whole other stage of life. But the problem is with a lot of these fighters, they listen to rap. They listen to these fuckboy rappers, and they internalize that they internalize and they glorify being from the trenches, being from the sticks, and they never break free of that mentality. So I digress there, but yeah, like Jaleel Hackett, Scooter Davis, these are the guys that look up to Tank, and a lot of the guys that are champions right now in boxing in America. A lot of people look up to Gervonta Davis. So best believe, if you get these fighters in that position to take, a bullshit fight like this, they're gonna do it, because again, I understand it. On one end, you do gotta provide for yourself and your family and have enough money for life after boxing. But at the same time, it's like, just don't. I'm okay if you do that. Just don't go on Twitter. Don't go on Instagram talking about you really like that and you're one of them top fighters and nobody can fuck with you, nobody can beat you. I don't want to hear it. If you are all about the bag and getting it by any means, then just say that. But don't come on here. Don't come out there and act like you this big bad killer that can just whoop every fighter in your weight class and it's all about fighting the best. I'm not hearing it, but yeah, I felt like this interaction between Scooter Davis and Jaleel Hackett was very important to highlight, because both of them are young fighters, and I feel like a lot of young fighters, and I know a lot of young fighters that are going to see this and they're going to think like this. So anyway, I digress there. But anyway, let me let me shut up for a second. I'm doing a whole lot of talking. I know I'm real energetic right now. Shout out to everybody that's rocking with me, that's watching. At the end of the day, guys, look, I just really want boxing to be in a healthy space. and I don't feel like it's in a healthy space with just all this nonsense going on. So I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking as authentic as I can. Let me see. We got my man Rebel Life Boxing. Shout out to you. He said exactly. I just said this fact. Yeah, shout out to you, Rebel Life. What did you say though? Again, this is what Al Heyman created. The fighters don't even view themselves as competitors; they are entertainers. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to just say Al Heyman. He is part of it. I'm not gonna say he's not. He definitely is part of it. You could say Al Heyman, you could say Floyd, but I'm also gonna throw to a degree. I'm gonna throw Eddie Hearn in there because nothing is new under the sun. Eddie Hearn, when he first got that injection of cash from Leonard Blavatnik and DAZN all those years ago, he was doing the same thing. He was overpaying guys for bullshit fights. That was the thing. You know what I'm saying? That was the thing at one point in time. Shakur can talk that shit though. Shakur, Gary Russell Jr., and Loma have every right to talk shit though. BT. I mean, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. It's their American Constitution, but it's their rights. But I'm not like 95% of these fighters are not like that. And I know that. Like, obviously they're great fighters. They'll kick my ass. But I'm saying, like, in terms of how they portray themselves to be to the world, they're not like that. When push comes to shove, and it's time to step up to the plate and really make a fight happen, they won't do it. This is the same guy that beat up Rolly. Yeah, that got beat up by Rolly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Ryan Garcia should have never lost to Rolly. Now, if you would have got knocked out by Rolly, I could have understood that because Rolly can punch. But you actually lost to Rolly, in my opinion, in the worst fashion possible. You lost. You got outboxed by him. You got taken to Cuban school. You got a boxing lesson from Rolly. So I mean, I don't want to hear about him. He's never taken the sport serious, and it's sad because I really do think highly of him as a fighter. Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, man. Like, Rebel Life, yeah, that's my main gripe with this. I'm 100,000% okay with getting the bag. Get the bag, make money, take care of your family, make investments, set your kids up, put your kids through college, take care of your wife, take care of everybody, take care of your uncles, your dads, do right by everybody in your life that does right by you. I'm all about that, because at the end of the day, when a fighter puts on the gloves, you want to do that. You want to accomplish things. You want to win titles. You want to be in meaningful fights. You want to create great moments, but you want to also be in a position where you have money to do the things that you want to do in your life outside of boxing. So I'm all for that. But like I said, what I'm against is fighters who do double talking, who will say that they can beat everybody in the division, that they're all about fighting the best, that they've never turned on a fight before. It's these other guys, but then they show up with their actions that no, they are strictly in it for the bag, and it's not like that. You can't do both. You can't do both. You know, you can't be, in my opinion, right? Because I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. And I've got skeletons in my closet, like I'm sure a lot of you guys have skeletons in your closet. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God, right? But you can't be at the club on Saturday and Friday and Thursday and then be on the church on Sunday, right? Now I know we all have our vices and we're all a work in progress. But what I'm saying is, you gotta, as much as possible, try to live what you preach, live what you talk. And the problem is, a lot of these fighters don't live what they talk. That's the facts. That's the facts. And that's people in life in general. Most people in life in general do not live and practice what they preach. And nobody's perfect, but as long as you're making that attempt to try and live what you preach, that's all that matters. These fighters don't even try. You're passionate about the sport of boxing, BT. You're just speaking of passion bigger about something you seem to love more than the boxers, apparently. I love this sport, man. Like, I don't understand it, right? Because I'm gonna get real with you guys. You want to know? You want to know BT? You want to know True School Sports? You want to know the guy behind this computer screen? Listen, man. What was I? Yeah, I was 18 years old, man. I was 18 years old. I was living in Dallas, Texas. I was covering the NBA. I was trying to find my footing in life. I was trying to please family members. I was trying to go to school. I was trying to like work these jobs. But I said, I don't want to go to school. All right, that's not for me. I believed in myself, and I had vision, and I had foresight, and I wanted to cover sports. Now, at the time, it was basketball. It wasn't boxing back then, but I wanted to cover sports. Right. They wasn't trying to hear that, right? So I try to please everybody. You know, I was young, so I cared about what people thought, and you know, I wanted to kill myself trying to please everybody. I literally thought about how to kill myself. Truth be told, right? You know what saved me from not doing that? Going down to Canino's boxing gym when I was 19 years old. When I was 19 years old, going to Canino's boxing gym, putting on those gloves, learning the sport of boxing, hitting the bag, sparring, learning what boxing really meant at the truest like core and essence of this shit. Going to the gym, you know, sparring some of the local pros. RIP to my boy Gabriel Chacon. He fought in the amateurs. He had like 5 pro fights. Sparring him, you know, getting my ass kicked and still come back the next day, trying my best, you know, getting stronger, you know, learning what boxing really, really meant. And you know, because of these lessons I learned in the boxing gym, you know, I eventually started covering boxing. And I've always loved boxing as a fan. I watched Bernard Hopkins versus Trinidad first fight when I was a kid, when I was 6 years old, when that put me in front of the TV. Watched Pacquiao Cotto, watched Cotto O'Clody, you know, watched Mayweather De La Hoya, a lot of fights. But it really became real when I went to the boxing gym. And I never fought in the amateurs. I don't have any ambition to turn pro or nothing like that. But how is it that boxing saved my life and I love it more than some of these fights? I don't get it. I don't fucking get it, because these fighters come from worse poverty than me. And they don't love the sport. They don't love the sport. They don't really want to be great. And I get it. You want to make money, and it's a hard game, and people criticize. I get it. Like, trust me, I get it as much as anybody in the media. But like, man, a lot of y'all not like that. It's pissing me off, because I feel like if we get one guy in boxing, who has some fucking personality, who fights his heart out, who takes some tough fights, you know, wins them, you know, and people are gonna get behind that. Why do you think a guy like Brian Millman Jr., who we'll get to Brian Millman Jr. later on in the live, but like, why do you think a guy like Brian Millman Jr. is catching on with so many boxing fans right now? Why? Because Brian Millman Jr., you know, he's traveling to other places fighting people. He's been in some tough fights where he was brought in to lose and won in sensational fashion, and he's knocking people out. And he's great to talk to, and he's fun to listen to, and he ticks a lot of boxes. So, you know, he's still got work to do. He's got to beat Devin Haney, which is no easy task, but like, he's on a trajectory of becoming the next star of American boxing, because of the fact that he's just different than these guys, or at least he's shown that so far in his career. Maybe at some point he'll get money and he'll be just like these guys, but thus far he's on a trajectory where it seems as if he's different, right? So, and that's a minor example, but yeah, man, just I don't get it. I don't get it. He said, damn, bro, I'm so glad you found the strength to not unalive yourself. I have learned a lot from following your channel. Yeah, man, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, people will come on this channel, right? They see me, you know, I try to talk properly. I try to talk in a way that's, you know, good. I'm not trying to sound like an idiot, you know. And they say, oh, well, you know, BT's a nerd. BT's this, BT's that, and they don't even know BT. They don't know what BT came from. They don't know that the reason, the main source of why I love boxing is because I damn near killed myself. And it was boxing that was there. It was boxing that taught me bravery and courage and honor and dealing with adversity. So how is it that I didn't even fight anywhere close to these guys' level, but they don't love the sport like that, to actually try to do right by the thing they say they love. They say took them out the hood. They say, you know, gave them new life. I don't get it. Help me understand, guys. Help me understand it, please. BT, the new promoter. Yeah, I mean, thank you, man. Thank you, man. I'm getting fired up. Yeah, like, you guys want to sit here and you want to clown Jin Sasaki, right? Who, okay, we know Jin Sasaki wasn't as good as Norman. Maybe he's not as good as a lot of these guys welterweight. But yo, you know what he did? He looked for greatness. He looked for Brian. He looked for the champion. He looked for one of the champions. He stepped up to the plate. Did he get his ass kicked? Yes. Did he get nailed to the canvas? Yes. But one thing you can't call Jin Sasaki, you can't call him no bitch. You can't call him a quitter. You can't call him scared. You can't question his heart. And it's sad, because a lot of these guys who are more talented than Jin, like Jaron Ennis, they don't like Jaron Ennis, like Tank. You know, they're a lot more talented than him, yes. But what good is talent if it's not tested against the best? If you're not stepping up to the plate and testing it against the best, what the fuck is the point of having so much talent? Riddle me that one. You know? Anyway,